Hello and welcome to HD Movie Talk. I am your host, Dean's Beans, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Fluffy Duffy. Hello, Harlan.
So we have on Joey Engelman as our guest today. Joey, one thing you don't know is when it's just me and Dean doing the podcast, Dean uses about maybe 14 more adjectives to describe me, of which include beautiful, handsome, gracious. These are just words you said, Dean.
I can't get over the fact that you just didn't even say hello to me. Or say hello to our listeners. You just jumped straight into it.
You know, I get so sidetracked because that's the reason I still do this podcast, is because you just give me so many compliments right when we start, and then when you don't,
we've already gotten off to such a weird start.
Rough
this episode of Guest Fest, and as Harlan has already said, we're joined by our friend Joey. We will allow you to speak now, Joey. Hello.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It seems clear that he's here just for the compliments, and he got none.
I got none.
I might throw one in.
Well, he said good friend, so yeah. Not so best friend, but I understand that.
Well, that'll have to work for now, I guess. So, but thank you for having me.
Of course, Joey. Did I say your last name correctly, or am I pronouncing it wrong?
How did you pronounce it?
I don't know, but you say how you pronounce it.
Let's just say you were right. If you don't remember,
checks out.
I was right. So whatever you say is definitely what I said. So
well, I'm just not gonna say it then.
Unfortunately,
I'm putting you on
Joey,
on the hot seat.
Is that how you say it?
Joe, yeah, that is how you say my first name. Okay. We're halfway there. Yeah, it's Engelman, whatever you wanna. It's fine.
Okay. So Joey, you make movie content on TikTok, kind of similar to me and Dean. But one thing I was really interested to talk to you about is you had an account with 70,000 followers or so, right?
Yeah, I know where this is going.
Okay. And now you don't.
Yeah.
What happened?
Dude, unfortunately, this is such an embarrassing thing for me because I've been in the social media world for so long. I even was a social media manager, and I made the rookie mistake of having that. Sorry, you can hear a dog barking.
No, you're good. What's the dog's name? Do you know?
Clifford. Do I know the name of the dog in my house?
Does it happen to be red or?
Kind of.
My God.
I'm glad you know the name of the dog.
Yeah. What I don't know is the password to my first TikTok. And that's the mistake I made, was I connected a Google Voice number to that account, and unbeknownst to me, Google Voice numbers expire if you don't use them after a while. So I just can't recover the password to that original TikTok. And I tried, I don't know, I tried to go into the labyrinth of my mind to find the old password, but I figured the easiest way is to just start from scratch. And so that's where I'm at. That's
so unfortunate. I have no doubt that you will easily be able to get past that follower account if you just keep up what you're doing. But
thanks, man.
Man, I am very impressed that you were able to take that meeting and then get up and then start again. Because I feel like if that happened to me, I'd be like, well,
it was fun.
That book is closed.
No, I mean, it's a bummer. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's definitely a bummer, but I tried to find the silver lining in it, and just I don't want to downplay TikTok, but thankfully it's not the main account, of mine. There are other accounts that I think I've had for a lot longer, and I'm much more emotionally attached to it. I still feel relatively new to the TikTok world anyway. And honestly, and what's interesting is I've just been able to, this has been an interesting experiment for reposting content, and how you shouldn't be afraid to repost some of your best work, because, it's given me an opportunity to do that. And in fact, I've even been able to test out different styles and see what works and what doesn't. And, now I've been reposting some of my old stuff in different ways, and they're performing better. So it's been a learning experience in a lot of different ways.
That's very interesting. just curious, like what things did you change about your reposted content that are making it do better now?
So when I first started on TikTok, what's interesting is like I don't even feel like I've ever even made a TikTok before, because all of my TikToks are just YouTube videos that I've repurposed. And when I first started doing that, I did it in like very sloppy ways. I was making it a lot more messy than it needed to be. And so the learning experience that I've had with that is just simplifying it. The structure that I have is basically just my face at the bottom of the screen, the movie or TV show that I'm talking about at the top of the screen, and then just like the captions like in the smack dab in the middle. And when I first started doing TikTok, I was kind of all over the place. And so having that like go-to structure has been at least to me the thing that I'm most comfortable with now. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what I'm doing.
No, it totally did. It's so interesting because there have been, including you, 2 people that we've brought into this podcast where I'm like, I really like the way they edit their videos. It's perfect for TikTok. They're going to do like insane things, both of which are social media managers. Because we also, do you know Coco MG? Is that his name, Dean?
The GNZ?
I'm not sure. I maybe if I saw their face.
Yeah, Coco GNZ.
Coco GNZ. He does it again, like he's in the same sphere of TikTok as us, but very like, face bottom top of the screen icon picture below. And yeah, so it's interesting that both those have like professional experience in social media.
Yeah, and I'm not to say that like the way that I'm doing it is the best. It's just what I'm doing right now. And I also, another thing that I think is worth mentioning is like I'm not locked into any sort of structure, and I'm just going to continue to keep testing things out, and that's something that I always recommend to others as well.
No, I think that's the way to, if like you want a long-standing career on social media, it's you kind of have to keep trying new things.
Totally.
Changes.
Yeah, that's for sure too. Yeah, I mean everything is constantly changing around us in like the platforms and stuff, so getting stuck on any sort of style or structure is, who's to say it won't work. It'll continue to work a year from now, so just keep testing.
Yes, very true.
So how long ago did you have to restart your account, just for context, how quickly you've...
It was maybe like a month ago.
Good effort then. Yeah.
So like mid-March.
I remember being really bummed because you stopped making videos for a while, and I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. And I figured something happened, and then I saw like at first I actually went to report your account. So I thought somebody
the new
was
one
posting it. Yeah. And I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tarnish the legacy of Joey Engelman.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks for looking out.
You, and I was like, oh, wonderful.
Yeah. That's why right now I have like a pinned video on there, and I made it a point to like mention in the caption in the page bio that like I lost my old account, because I am worried about that. Because I feel like there's a very real possibility that I'll lose this new account because of that. Like people thinking that I'm an imposter. So
no, but like that first video, it was like instantly I didn't even do anything because I'm like, oh, it's just a new account.
Yeah, new account. Who dis?
All right. Should we get into the movie, Dean, or do you have more questions?
No, I'm happy to get into the movie.
Okay. So the movie you brought to us today, we always ask our guests like, what's your favorite movie? Usually that's a pretty loaded question. So if not that, like one movie you want to talk about on a podcast, and you brought us the movie Coherence. Dean and I had like a 10-second discussion, and all we asked is before the podcast, and Joey joined the call, is have you ever heard of this movie? And both of our answers were no. So my first question for you is, how did you hear about this movie?
Oh man, I'm trying to
find it.
Retrace my steps. It was probably Letterboxd, honestly. I think Letterboxd has it must have been in like the similar films category of another movie that I liked, or maybe it was. I'm a big sucker for micro budget filmmaking, and so it's also very possible that it was on a Letterboxd list of other like trippy or like trippy micro budget films. And it sounded interesting. The reviews were good. I was like, let me check it out. And it rocked my world. So so I've been recommending it to a lot of people, actually.
Cool. So Harlan.
Yes, Dean.
Before we get to our game, just because I'm sure lots of people here have never heard of this film before. Do you want to just give us a quick rundown of the plot?
So the quick rundown, without getting into it too much, is these people gather together for like a dinner party. There's some drama going in between some of the characters, and during this day there's a comet going over the world, and then weird stuff starts happening, and then things aren't quite as they seem, and I'm gonna leave it there because I think that's what got me interested when I read the synopsis.
See, I didn't even read the synopsis before watching this film. I just watched it.
No, I didn't read it. I read like the Amazon thing.
Yeah. Okay, so Joey, how we like to, because Harlan likes to think of himself as the best person at trivia ever on TikTok. Every time we bring on a guest and they bring on their film, we like to just play a little game called Are You Smarter Than a Fluffy Duffy, where I'll give you both a few trivia questions about this film, and it's your job to prove that you're smarter than Fluffy Duffy.
Okay, I'll try my best.
For a little context, I think we've done this game for the past year or so. I have won once.
So, okay.
We've done this about 15, 20 times maybe.
So it's less about me winning, and it's more about me not losing, because I don't want to be the second person to lose.
Yeah. So the thing is, we went through like the first 5 games of this, and I was really determined to make Harlan lose because that's what's fun about it. And then for like the next 10, I was like, oh, but now I need Harlan to win because he keeps losing all of them. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of like, oh, we'll see what happens. So I've tried to make it as fair as possible instead of like usually rooting for one or the other. So I have a few questions here. Some are multiple choice, some are numbers, and you just have to get the closest. For the multiple choice, Joey, you can answer first. And if you're wrong, the question will go to Harlan. We've got 2 multiple choices questions to start with.
Okay.
The first question is, which one of the following films that the director, James Ward Burkitt, has not worked on? So I've got 4 films here. He has worked on 3 of them and not one of them. Your 4 films are Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Baby Driver, Don't Worry Darling, and Rango.
I think it's Don't Worry Darling.
You are correct.
Yes.
That was very immediate. Did you know that, or did...
I knew that he worked on 2 of those. I knew he worked on Rango and Pirates.
Okay.
And then Don't Worry Darling, it was kind of just like, I don't know. I think I would have known if he did work on that, because I did watch it so recently.
Yeah.
What was the last one that he did?
Baby Driver.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was between those 2 for me.
Okay. It's 1 point. Harlan, for this multiple choice question, you get to answer first.
Yes.
Okay. How was the shot of the comet filmed in this film? Was it real footage that's decades old? Was it CGI? Was it stop motion? Or is it a mystery?
Old footage.
Incorrect. Joey, back to you.
Okay, so you guessed old footage, and then the other options were CGI,
stop motion, or nobody knows.
I'm gonna say nobody knows.
Correct. The directors have refused to tell anyone how it was filmed, which, you know, is a bit bizarre, but good on them, I guess.
I respect it.
So weird.
It is, yeah. Okay, now we're on to the number questions. So this time you both give me a number, and whoever's closest gets the point. So question number 1 is, in days, how long was the initial shoot for this film?
Who's going first?
Either of you can go first.
Okay, you go.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, 21 days.
7 days.
The answer, Joey is closer, it's 5 days.
Wow. Is that how long it actually went for?
So yeah, it was filmed in the director's house. And the only way he could get his pregnant wife to agree to have the film filmed in his house was if the shooting only took 5 days.
Huh. I feel like I'm a little bit at an advantage with this because I have looked up like some of the
he didn't even know this
stories.
was happening, and he refreshed before the podcast. Maybe I should start doing that, but that's cheating. Joey didn't cheat because he didn't know, but I would have.
No, that is kind of the point that the you have an advantage. Like that's kind of the whole idea of this, you know.
That's fair, yeah.
I think it would be rude to invite guests onto our podcast and just make them lose a game every week. I think that's pretty harsh.
Yeah, they just get buried by these trivia questions. Yeah. And
just
what like, a great podcast.
What did Harlan say to me after watching this film?
Yeah.
So you've won because we've only got 2 more questions. But I'll ask the other 2 questions, you know, just so you can win by a landslide or Harlan can save a bit of his dignity.
Sounds great.
That's long gone, but let's continue.
Some scenes were reshot 6 months later, but the actress for Lee had changed her hair. They had to create a wig to recreate what she looked like. How much did this wig cost to make?
I wouldn't even know where to start. I'm not very...
Who was this?
I have no expertise on wigs.
The actress for Lee.
Which one was Lee?
I'm not sure. I can check.
I honestly don't even know much. I don't think I know any of them by name either. So
no, I saw that. I honestly, the reason I went for that is because I saw the name of the actor and I was like, I'm not going to be able to say that actor's name, so I'm going to go with the character name. I'm on IMDb.
Lee, I think is Lee like the wife that took a nap.
Yeah, Lee is the one with black hair and glasses.
I'm gonna say $50.
Okay, it's definitely got to be more than that. I'm gonna do Price is Right style, and I'm just gonna say 100.
The price I saw online for this was $6,000.
Yeah,
which was also the same price of the initial shoot of this film.
That is a fun fact right there.
The wig cost more than the initial shot of the film. Final question. Yeah. It's your chance to redeem yourself, although I think Joey probably knows the answer to this question because it's a nice, easy one. It's a nice, easy one. What is the budget of this film?
It's 10,000.
Well,
Harlem, do some maths right now about information I just told you.
12,000.
If a wig costs £6,000,
I feel like you're hustling your guests.
If a wig costs £6,000,
I'm starting to think you actually know all of these questions. I'm gonna say 12,000.
12,001.
You get 12,001. Okay, I'll allow it. The answer is 50,000.
Oh, see, okay.
So,
well, I'm glad you got one.
Yes, take that, Joey.
Dean, you tripped me out because I had a vision in my head of like I don't have a photographic memory, but I remember seeing the number 50,000 somewhere in there. But you tripped me out with the wig. It was the wig's fault that I didn't get that.
Mm.
It's funny to think that just one wig was that's 10% of the budget, over 10% of the budget of the film. It's 12% of the budget.
Yeah, that is wild.
Wow,
that
is wild. Math over here.
But to me, that is the magic of micro budget filmmaking, because those budgets get real strange when you're pinching pennies like that. And then after the fact, yeah, I have to imagine that. I mean, I don't know one way or another, but I have to imagine by the time that they were in wig mode, when they were ready to purchase this wig, they had gotten like maybe additional funding or something because the film was already wrapped, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, this was actually quite an interesting film to look into for these fun facts, because I'm sure most of the people listening won't know that behind this film, like, there wasn't really a script. They had the story planned out. but the actors had no idea what was going to happen, and they were just given a piece of paper with their character's motivation, and then it was just their job just to go off on one for the day. And one of the actors was a co-writer on the film, so it was kind of his job to steer everyone in the right direction if they were going off track.
Do you remember what actor it was that had?
I can find out.
It was Amir. It was, so remember how
really?
the two guys, the first two guys that left the house and then they came back and one of them had an injury on their head. It was the other guy.
Yeah. I remember Amir. That's like if you had name one character from that movie, I would say Amir.
Yeah.
Harlan, you can stop trying. You're not getting any more points. You've already lost.
The trivia game is over. But I agree though, because those two guys are definitely like, they are the anchor to all of the madness. You know, like M is the main character, but when things start getting out of control, it really starts when they leave the house and then come back. And I love this movie so much specifically because of that interesting fun fact about how there was no main script and none of the actors were basically like, they woke up each day and they had a sheet of paper with their characters' motivations and backstory. And so it almost makes it feel like the movie itself is kind of like an escape room. And to see that kind of all come into play, I can't think of any other movie experience that is similar to this. And that's why it's really stuck with me.
I find that really interesting that there was no script, because like as I was watching this movie unfold, I was like, oh, there had to be like, the script must have been insane, because like so much of it has to tie directly into things that happen like 40 minutes later.
Yeah. So I did also read it took them about a year to write the story of this film, and obviously that's no dialogue or anything like that as well, which I think is an interesting approach. Like, it does make a lot of like, it seems like there's a lot of weird stylistic choices until you realize that there's no script, because it's just like a lot of shaky cam and like not very clear angles on the people. But that's just because for most of it there was only like one or two cameramen, and the actors were just told to stand wherever they wanted. Like there was no direction on where for them to stand.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that might rub a lot of people the wrong way because it's not very polished. I love that kind of stuff. I really like down to earth, raw, and it just feels like pure cinema to me when there are mistakes, and that to me makes it much more human, and it also makes it much more attainable. I love movies that you watch and it makes you think like, that is something that I can make with my friends in our house in 5 days. And yet at the same time, you see that it's like very attainable, and yet that makes it all the more impressive at how complex it ended up being.
Yeah, like you could do it, but you're not coming up with that kind of idea for a film either.
Totally.
One thing I found really interesting about this movie is when they were like talking about the comet that happened in like 1923 or whatever. When the movie started, I was like, there's no way comets do that. This is a fictional little thing. But when I looked it up, I don't know if this is true, but in my headcanon, this is what happened. I think the directors put out a couple pieces on Facebook about the 1923 comet, because when you look it up, you hear about like, oh, a comet that went over Finland, and then you scroll down like a couple links, and then it's a Reddit post being like, no, this was entirely fake, that the directors talked about. But when you look it up, like 1923 Finland comet, you find a couple links that's talking about it, but it's not real. But like
that's
for a quick second, I was like, oh, this actually did happen. It did not.
Maybe people just watched this film, and because of all the shaky cam and everything, they just assumed it was a documentary.
That's one thing I also found really interesting. It's filmed almost as if it's like a found footage movie, but it's not. Like there's this weird like transition where they just cut everything off and then they pick up at another spot in the conversation. And I thought that was a really interesting way to like make you feel like everything was actually happening, because it gave that vibe of like a found footage-esque movie, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really fascinated by the comet not actually existing, because I do think that is how comets work. Like Halley's Comet, I think I remember reading about how Mark Twain he was born on the day that Halley's Comet came, and he died on the day that Halley's Comet returned. So I do think that there is some truth to comets like coming and going over like a century. So I was watching that movie and thinking like, oh, this is totally plausible. So that's really fascinating that it's not.
But like it sets like, I have no idea how comets work. That's not my special interest.
It's the engine inside.
What did you say to me?
The engine. That's how
the engine?
Yeah.
You're super silly. Did you know that? Anyway, I lost my train of thought. There it goes. Dean, it's all your fault. I blame you. Did you, Joey, when you saw this movie for the first time, did you find the twist coming that like when Amir and Hugh, was that when they returned, right. Did you know that they were not the original ones?
Not at first. I'm trying to think of the exact moment where it became clear. Is it not with the I'm losing my it was the light thing, the sticks, right. The glow sticks.
Yeah, the glow sticks.
When they realized that they're glow sticks, they left with blue glow sticks and came back with red glow sticks. That was, I think, the moment that it hit me that we're not. Because I think what's interesting is I knew a little bit about the movie going into it. Well, I knew the synopsis, like what was on the like IMDb description, like the log line, but I had no idea that it would become an alternate reality, like multiverse situation. And so I think that was when I realized that they were different Hughs and Amir, but that question being answered led to 1,000 other questions. And that to me was like, I think that was the moment where I'm like, oh, this is a movie for me. Because honestly, like I admit, like I'm one of those people that I'll occasionally like be on my phone for a few moments on a movie or a TV show. But I think it was around that time where I realized like this movie deserves my undivided attention because it's moving at such a fast pace that if I look down at my phone for 30 seconds, I'm going to miss a lot of important details like that.
I had a similar experience because I was on my phone right when they ran into people with the red lights.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm putting my phone down. I can't do that again.
Yeah, and there's so many moments like that too. It keeps on hit. It just does not stop.
What was I gonna say? I found it so interesting when like I noticed when Hugh came back, he had a different Band-Aid. And like at first I was like at that moment I knew something was wrong, but I had no idea that it was going to go into such like a roulette sort of style. I think the one issue I have with the movie, spoiler alert, for if you at this point are like, I want to watch this movie, it's free essentially everywhere. So I'd pause this, go spend 90 minutes and watch, actually 89, spend 89 minutes and watch it.
It's a tight flick.
They can spend a minute like turning on the TV and finding it and then.
Yeah, 89 minutes and like 30 seconds, depending on how good your Wi-Fi connection is.
I would hope that you've already, like, if you are interested in watching this movie, I would hope that you've already stopped watching because we have given away, like, the glow sticks thing is dope. And I want that to be like an authentic reaction for anyone. But by now you've come back, you've watched the movie and you've come back and you're like, oh my God, what a great movie. Now here is Harlan's opportunity to give it some cons.
M should have just killed her other version. Like
I think she tried to.
Well, she used like the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But then like at that point, just like, or if anything, like keep one foot in your reality and just throw the other M into the black hole.
Yeah,
just do that.
I think she half-assed it twice because I think she tried to kill her once and then she came back into the house and then she tried to kill her in the bathroom again, and then she woke up the next morning and her body was gone. So she's just not very good at that.
No.
To be fair, I think, exact physical match, they can probably guess what you're going to do. It's going to be a tricky fight.
Good point. But she already had her down, she was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
She had her right where she wanted her. And again, she's just half-assed it. And I think that, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll never know.
The way the movie ends off, like, Joe, you mentioned how it gives you like 1,000 questions once like Hugh and Amir walk back, and the movie ends in a way where it's like there's like a million more questions that you're gonna ask now.
Yeah,
because
it's interesting. I saw someone mention on in some discussion online that M is the hero of our movie until she's not, until she's straight up the villain at the very end, when like he's getting the phone, when her boyfriend is getting the phone call, and you realize like, oh yeah, she's actually like very much the bad guy in this situation.
Yeah,
but she's the bad guy only because she wanted a better life for herself. So it's complex, and it's very like I love these kind of movies because it's very much like these characters are thrown in a bizarre, unthinkable situation, and you just have to watch them figure shit out. And so it does at the end. I feel it was very much like a character driven ensemble thriller mystery.
I think like if this movie came out as like a big studio, like $10 million movie, it would be huge and everybody would know about it. But like considering it's not, like me and Dean haven't heard of this, but it also like it makes it a little bit more special. Like I think it's cool how when they go outside, the camera isn't quite as like, it doesn't pick up color that well and it gets more grainy, and little things like that I think add a little bit more charm to it. And I think it takes a movie that if everybody knew and it was a lot more popular, it'd probably have more like maybe an 8 out of 10. But considering it's like so unique and they took all their disadvantages and turned it so that it makes their movie more special, it makes it like so much cooler of a movie.
100% agree. 100%. Because I thought the same thing about how like, oh, if it had a bigger budget than like X, Y, and Z, it would have been different. But then it's like, well, then it would be a different movie. It would have been a different movie experience. I find myself, I used to, one of my old jobs that I used to do years ago was I worked for a film festival that we would travel around to different college campuses and provide students with free film equipment for a week so that they can make their own movie. And
that's really cool.
It was so cool. I mean, I participated in it as a college student myself, and I fell in love with it. And then I got to then become and then I became someone that worked for the festival. And so it's something that I like truly believed in. And the magic of it was being able to provide students who had never touched film equipment before, who had never told a story before, and you give them all of the supplies that are necessary in order to create something of their own and share their own stories. And the beauty and like the creativity that was able to come out of these come out of that situation, it gave me such a heightened appreciation for these no budget films. And so I agree with you. I think that like it would have lost the charm that this movie had if they were to have had millions of dollars to work with.
Yes. I think, when it comes to like low budget films, the only ones that like I really know is like Napoleon Dynamite.
A classic.
Maybe like Reservoir Dogs, but like not really. Like that one, like that gets into big budget because I don't know who that was produced by, but
it's still like I still think that it still does definitely like those definitely still have the magic to it that I'm looking for when I'm looking for like a cinematic experience.
Right.
If you're looking for another movie similar to Coherence, there's a Japanese film that came out, I think in 2019 or 2020, and it's on Prime Video as well. It's called Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. And I think it was done with basically it was about like 20,000 US dollars that they made it on. And it's similar, like very trippy. Instead of like multiverse stuff, it's more time travel, but it gave me a similar vibe where like I'm watching these people make the absolute most out of a very small budget.
Yeah.
And it takes place in one setting, and it's actually all done in one take, which makes it even more magical to me. I think it's in one take. It's a one-shot film. They might have had a few cuts, but they're placed in ways that makes it look like one take.
Right.
So that's my I love that kind of stuff. That gets me so hyped.
I'm glad we're talking about this on a podcast, because now next time I'm like, oh, I should watch a movie, but I don't remember the movie name. I can just skip to the 35-minute mark.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm happy to spread the good word about these good micro budget films.
Yeah, it's not something like the only micro budget films I think I've seen are ones that are made by directors who then went on to make a lot bigger things, like Boy with Taika Waititi. Eagle vs Shark with Taika Waititi is definitely a micro budget film, but the only reason I've gone out of my way to watch that is because I'm like, oh, I like Taika Waititi.
Mm-hmm. And there's also, I mean, I think maybe a lot of it, a lot of my appreciation for it comes with like growing up in the like OG YouTube era, where I was watching a lot of like young kids with just like a webcam and iMovie put together some like really, really impressive content. And so I think that there's stuff like that all over the place. And yeah, I agree. Like it's really cool to see like the humble beginnings of these filmmakers that would go on to make some really impressive and like become like A-list filmmakers in their own right.
I still edit all my stuff on iMovie.
Hell yeah. Dude, I mean, I think that's awesome. I don't think you need to have these like really impressive editing softwares. I don't think you need, I mean, Coherence is proof of it, where you don't need to have millions of dollars to like have a good story told well. That film festival that I used to work for, one of the years the best picture for the entire festival, like nationwide, was edited on iMovie. So
really,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever you need to use to tell your story, use it.
My videos lately have been getting like through the 1 minute to 3 minute mark, and especially on iMovie, when you edit them like, you know, a good amount, once you get past that minute mark, oh boy, does it not appreciate you. It's so hard to work with. And hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, I'll be on Premiere Pro primarily after this summer. But iMovie's a piece of work, man.
Does it just start like giving you a lot of trouble?
Yeah, like, as I edit it on my phone, and once you get past that minute mark, if you want to rotate the screen, it takes a good like 7 seconds for it to recognize that you twisted it. And then, so
dude, so you film and edit on iMovie all on your phone?
Yeah, that's
awesome. I think that's badass.
Besides writing the script, because I have to read it off my computer, I do everything on my phone.
Wild, dude. I clap it up for you with that, because that's really impressive.
It's primarily because I don't know how else to do it.
I mean, you do whatever you need to do. So do you is it just like easier for you, like workflow wise, instead of like recording it on your phone, sending it to your computer,
because editing it on there? It usually takes me like 2 to like, depending, like 6 hours to make a video. It's like I don't have time in the day to, try to learn how to teach myself a new program. And, I've technically been using iMovie since like I was 8.
Right.
But, to varying degrees. But like Adobe, and that's just like a whole new beast. So like one time in the summer, I'm not going to be going to school. So I'm going to have a lot more time to teach myself and establish a new workflow. But like right now, like it's working. So
yeah. So do you just, I'm fascinated by your workflow, because do you just like wake up every morning and you're like, okay, I need to figure out a new idea, and you start from like ground zero and you work your way up? Or do you kind of like, do you at least like come up with like a bulk of ideas every week and then you go through that? What's your whole setup?
Can I try and answer this question for you, Harlan? As
go
someone,
for it.
As someone who spent considerable time with Harlan, the first few hours of most days, he would just sit there and he would look at you and he'd be like, I don't know what I'm going to make my video on today. And then he'll just say that about 4 more times. And then about 2 hours later, he'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I can do it on this. And then he'll make the video and then he'll edit it and then he'll post it.
That's wild. That is
I
that's
get
a lot of
most of my
pressure.
ideas at like 2 a.m. and then I have to write them down. No matter what, if I don't write them down, they are gone. And it is the most frustrating thing.
Was that a pretty good summary, Harlan?
That was a pretty good idea. That you got it. Recently, I've been doing a lot better at coming up with ideas. So like,
sure,
I have my video for today filmed and rough edited, so, which is impressive. Before like noon, like look at me go. But there are most times where it's like 9 at night and I'm like sitting there like, oh no, oh man.
And you post every day?
Mostly.
Okay.
It's been a new development where if I'm like, I'm really not feeling it today, I don't, because I still kind of stand by the thing that I get money from it, not a lot, but it's important that I still like am wanting to have fun. And if I'm not having fun doing it, I'm like, well, if I force myself to do this and I don't have fun, it's going to ruin it. So I'm just not going to do it today.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And that's good. I feel like that's a good place to be, like mentally, like health wise. Because if you're just like, that's a surefire way to burn yourself out, which, I feel like we've all been there before.
But like, I'm also like a very competitive person, but like I'm mainly competitive with myself. So odds are I'll do it even if I really don't want to. But if it's like I can't think of anything, don't want to do it, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, dude, I respect that. I feel like that's definitely a lot of pressure to live with when you're like waking up and you're having to. That's why with my TikToks, I bulk, like that's why at least with like my old account, I would go like a few months at a time without post. I would post like once a day for like a few months, and then I would not post anything for a few months and rinse and repeat. And that's because I'm making them all at the exact same time. Like I'll go into each like wave with about like 50 to 60 TikToks in the bank, and I'll just send them out once a day. But that's also because sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, when I'm consistently posting, which I'm not at the moment, that is how I do it as well. I will make maybe like 2 dozen in one sitting and then just post them over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, that it's proof that like everybody has a different process that works for them. And that's definitely the thing that keeps my sanity the most. And also like, I think, giving myself permission to go a little while without posting anything. But that's also just because my setup is a little different. The priorities for me is like YouTube and then TikTok and Instagram now. And so with my YouTube videos, I'll work on one video for a few months. And with that 1 hour long video, I'll have like about 60 TikToks in the bank. So it's just different for everybody.
Nice.
It is, but it's also like Yeah, I guess there's no other way for me to do it at this point. So it works for me. I'm just going to keep riding with it.
Like the idea of like sitting down and just like banging out like 10 TikToks in one day sounds insane to me. So like I'm just in my little zone and there's no way I could get out of it.
Hey, and that's okay. I mean, if it works for you. But yeah, with me though, it's not even like I'm making 10 TikToks in one day. It's that I'm spending a month and a half doing research for 50 TikToks. And then once I'm done with the research for all of them, then I do the script for all of them. And then I spend one 8-hour day filming all of them. And then I'll spend 3 to 4 weeks editing all of them. And then when I get out of that, when I get out of my cave, I'll have all of those ready to roll.
Interesting. So like one thing I really like about your content is like a lot of it is stuff nobody like, like if I was to go into my workflow, there's no way I would make a video about like the Van Gogh movie, the one where it's all like every frame is a painted thing.
Loving Vincent.
That's a movie that I will never had heard of or have been tempted to make a video about, but you were like little things like that, I think is what makes your account stand out so much. Cause like,
thanks, man.
Who would think about doing that?
And that's definitely what I'm like trying to tap into is stuff that most people have not spoken about. I like the idea of introducing people to new things. But with that's an example of like, so that TikTok was a part of a video that was 1 hour and 10 minutes long, all about movies that broke world records. And
interesting.
So with that, I was able to spend a month and a half knowing exactly what I'm researching. And with that came a lot of things that people already knew. There's a lot of things that I don't think anybody had any idea about. Like there was a movie that I talked about. It didn't like pop off on TikTok, but it was maybe my favorite entry from that YouTube video that I then eventually posted on TikTok. It was the movie that broke the world record for most plates shattered in a movie. Like who had any idea that even existed? And it was a movie from like the 1920s or the 1930s in Russia. And that to me is like, that is my bread and butter. I want to get into like the really obscure nitty gritty things. And that's why another series that I have is like TV shows that were canceled after one episode. Those ones do
really well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it's kind of a mixed bag because some of them are super fascinating because they were canceled after one episode, and that might be because of controversy, that might have been because of like a bizarre mishap or something. And then there are others that didn't really do all that well because turns out the TV show was canceled after one episode for good reason. It was just like mediocre. But I love diving into celebrating obscurity, mediocrity, average. I still think that those things are still in some way worth celebrating. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Interesting. Before I ask Joey this question, I'm going to ask Dean this question because I think it's interesting because we're all on TikTok. We're all in the same space, but we all do things a little bit differently. Dean, what like videos on your account do you think like do the best?
Ranking video.
Anything like specifically besides ranking, or just like
it changes what works for rankings. Like at the moment, it's more to do with movies in general. When I started TikTok, it was definitely more Marvel stuff.
Yeah, Marvel stuff. Well, it's because Marvel kind of sucks right now.
So people like ripping on it.
Well, not even that. Like Marvel back in the old days of 2021, if you could make your video somehow related to Marvel, like guaranteed views, almost. Like it was hard to talk about Marvel and not get views. But like now it's like the opposite. Not necessarily like 100% the opposite, but like it does not have the same pull it used to, just from like a pure content viewership base. But Joey, getting to you, what do you like? What content does best on your account? Because I wouldn't say your content is niche, but like as I said before, it's new things that people really haven't heard of?
That's a good question. I think I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I think, the one that I uploaded within the last week or so that really popped off was I did a TikTok about the Joe Schmo Show, which was kind of a messed up TV show that took place in the early 2000s. And maybe that popped off because it's also very relevant to, there's a new TV show that just came out that is kind of the talk of the town called Jury Duty,
Yes.
which I absolutely love, for the record. So I think that there was
Jury Duty?
No, not yet.
Dude, you
highly recommend. It's really good.
It's great.
The Joe Schmo Show was a little bit more of like a, at least I think it had a little bit more evil intentions than Jury Duty did at first, but then it ended up becoming wholesome, just like Jury Duty was. So I think that it was just timely, but yeah, I don't know exactly what is the the common denominator with all of the videos that do exceptionally well for me. But yeah, like weird TV shows that people remembered but didn't know they remembered, if that makes sense.
I believe you were, but were you the person who talked about the show where it was a actor who looked like Prince Harry?
Yeah.
Wasn't?
I just posted that.
That was insane. Dean, have you heard about that show?
Video, yeah. I've seen, I hadn't heard of the TV show, but I've seen that video.
That is insane.
Did
that video do well?
Yeah. Yeah, it did pretty well. It did much better on Instagram, oddly enough. I just started posting Instagram reels within this last month, and it did much better on Instagram, at least at the moment, than TikTok. I think it's close to 1 million at this point.
Wow.
And it definitely at least hit 100K on TikTok, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure, but overall, yeah, I would overall say that it did well. But I think that might be the thing that's working best for me right now, is at least I hope, because that is the one that I have most content like banked up, is because the most recent YouTube video that I did was a deep dive into TV shows that should not exist. And that's where I Want to Marry Harry came from. That's where the Joe Schmo Show came from. So, and those are doing well. And I'm glad, because I have I have a lot more in the tank.
No, I think, is it just a coincidence that Jury Duty has also come out, or were you banking on that?
I had no idea. Well, I knew it existed when I had been working on the big video that I posted on YouTube that had the Joe Schmo Show in it. I had been working on it for months. But by the time that, so I kind of knew of Jury Duty's existence, but I didn't know that that TikTok would be elevated because of Jury Duty.
Right.
It just kind of worked out that way.
That is, like, your videos are already great, but that is a wonderful coincidence for you.
I'll take it.
It's huge right now.
Yep. I'll definitely take it. Yeah. I think when I'm making content like that, I'm trying to make evergreen content, so that in a situation where, like, let's say, like, fingers crossed this never happens to me, but if I don't know, lost access to my TikTok account.
Oh, if that ever that's so happened, rare. It would never happen to you.
Definitely not to me. I'm a professional here. But if that ever were to happen, the beauty of having evergreen content like that is, if I had to start from scratch, I could just repost a lot of them over again, and it would still be just as relevant. That being said, if there is any, like, the stars align and it's like perfectly timed, and something like Jury Duty Camp comes out at the same time that I have a Joe Schmo Show TikTok ready to roll, I'll take it. But that's almost never like a part of my plan from the beginning. Yeah,
which is interesting. I think, I know Harlan and I both try to cater our content around what's relevant.
And that's smart. I think you should be doing that. I'm kind of like I'm doing it a little bit backwards, but that is because of how long it's taking me to, like, in bulk make all of these things. Like, I couldn't, if I was trying to in bulk make things that are pop culturally relevant, and it took me like 2 months, by the time that I was done, it wouldn't be relevant anymore, you know?
I think that's what's, like, I think it's not, there's many like keys to success on TikTok, but I think one major thing is like if you can like have your finger on the pulse good enough where you know what's relevant and also be able to make content regarding that, but also have it be unique enough where people can watch it outside of that context and still enjoy it and want to see more from you. I think that's like that's a really fine space on TikTok, but if you can get in that space, you'll you know you'll have a lot of rewards from it.
Yeah. And that's where you definitely have an edge. That's why I think that what you have going on right now is so great, because you are able to pump out all of this content so quickly. You are able to have your finger on the pulse and like, okay, so this is really hot right now. I'm going to wake up today, or I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and I'm going to put together something that is extremely relevant to this trend. That's something that I would like to eventually tap into as well. I think because I said it in the beginning, but I still don't really feel like I'm making TikTok videos. I'm just repurposing YouTube videos. I do want to start getting involved with actually like making TikTok videos like the two of you. It's a little intimidating though. Like that's why I have so much respect for the two of you. It's just like different, you know. It's easy for me to drop something like what I'm doing now, knowing full well that like it originally wasn't even intended for TikTok. So if it doesn't do well, like no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like I've had brief stints of like uploading my TikToks to YouTube Shorts. I don't do as much now because most of my videos exceed the 60-minute mark, 60-second mark, and that's YouTube Shorts. It taps out at that. But like it's the same thing of being like, well, my main priority is TikTok. So if it doesn't do on YouTube, it doesn't hurt. It is interesting when stuff does like when it flops on TikTok and then it pops off on YouTube. And I've had some circumstances with that, and usually I can equate it to TikTok censorship, which I think is kind of a thing. But
it's frustrating. And that's I just you know, I preach to people something that I didn't start doing until last month, which is like, you know, get your content as many different platforms as you possibly can, because of things like that. Like, you know, some audiences on Instagram are going to love a TikTok that you made more than TikTok itself, and vice versa. Yeah. Also the censorship thing. There's been, I get ragged on because I have to like censor words like assassination. And people are like, why'd you censor that? I'm like, don't ask me. I just know that the TikTok algorithm, the TikTok censorship is going to block my video if I don't.
Like kill and murder.
Yeah.
I say unalive and muck duck. Like those are the two I go to, because, and usually whenever I do that, there's always a person in the comments they're saying like, why do you say that? And then I think that my followers, or like some of them have taken an understanding as to why I do that. There's usually always a comment saying because he has to censor.
Yeah.
TikTok.
It's always nice when you have your crew having your back like that. It definitely makes it a little bit more easy. But thankfully you don't have to deal with that kind of censorship on Instagram. That's the thing that I've been enjoying over there. I've been able to post things as is. Basically, yeah.
Interesting. I think it's interesting how you like feel some sort of intimidation when it comes to TikTok, because I feel like the exact same towards long form content on YouTube, because I know Dean does it, but I don't, because it like that idea is way more overwhelming than just spending 2 hours making a TikTok.
The thing is, I've gotten to the point now where I enjoy doing that more than I enjoy posting on TikTok, and that's why I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm more consistent on YouTube than obviously I post more on TikTok, but I think I am more consistent on YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, do you feel more at home now on YouTube than TikTok?
I don't know if I feel at home, because it's still something I'm testing out and trying different things and experimenting, but I enjoy it more, I think.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely like I'm biased because I've been on YouTube. My channel is I made my channel back in 2007. I was 12 years old. So it's been a part of my life for more than half of my life. TikTok still feels like new and slightly intimidating. So We all just have like, we're all coming from different directions.
Yeah.
This is true. Because like if my videos are 2 minutes long and my YouTube videos would at least be triple or quadruple that. Because that's triple or quadruple the time. And that is so intimidating. I can't do
well,
that.
dude,
it's not as intimidating for me when my videos take so little to make compared to both of you.
That's true, I guess, but
and you already have a lot of content that I think you could repurpose. You could basically do the opposite of what I'm doing. I think that like if there's a through line for if you have like a series on TikTok or like a playlist on TikTok and they're all like and you have like a group of like relevant TikToks, then you can just like batch them all together and post that as one YouTube video.
Well, see, the issue is they're all like formatted a certain way, and considering I do everything on my phone, I can't keep them around because of my iPhone storage. So I think maybe once, because like I do have a camera and I do have microphones and I do have all the equipment. I have access to like I the only reason that I'm not professionally editing my videos is because I don't want to. Like that's it.
Fair.
So I think like maybe once I do that, like it'll be easier to format them differently. But as of the moment, it's like there's no way I can do that.
Yeah, I understand. I think that that might be a good opportunity for, like if you are interested in testing things out like with editing on your computer, that might be a good spot to do it, especially because all of your TikToks are basically edited already. And then all you would need to do is just download all your TikToks and then just throw them all onto a timeline on your computer and then export and you'd be ready to roll. So
you think
something
you could do
about
that? Like because they're all vertical.
Yeah, I would do like I don't know if you want me to go into like the nitty gritty details, but like you could just like upload, like you could put them into your timeline as like a widescreen and then just like blur the background. You know what I mean? Have you seen those videos before?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess I could.
There's opportunities there.
Yeah, there are opportunities.
But I do, yeah, it's an interesting game where like all three of us, we have a lot of content and then it just kind of becomes like, where do you want to put it?
Yeah.
And you can put them all out of different places. I'm now learning about Facebook as a place to upload content. I had no idea that was a good spot to do it, but
yeah, I mean, grandparents have to watch the videos too.
That's so true.
Well, what started out talking about a low budget movie has definitely segued into my special interest. Dean, do you have any more questions? Oh, Dean, I have a question for you.
Go on.
So this movie was filmed in America.
Yeah.
If it was to be filmed somewhere else in the world, what do you think it would sound like?
That's such a random question to ask. I'm not sure.
I know. It just came off the top of my head.
I know what you're hinting at, but I can't like think of any lines in this film that I could do to please you.
Just one.
Oh, the glow sticks has changed. Oh, mamma mia.
Joey's confused.
Was that Scottish?
Happens with all our guests.
We have 2 bits in this podcast.
I do think we have more than 2 bits. You often say we have 2 bits. I think it's more now.
Yeah, but we have 2 bits. We have 3 bits, actually.
What's the third one?
The third one is the one I pointed out when the podcast started.
Oh, okay.
The compliments, right?
Yeah, the compliments. And then we have the Italian accent, which I don't know how that started.
I just think once we both did you started doing an Italian accent on this podcast and I joined in, and then you went, oh, that's over now. And I was like, yeah, because we're contractually obligated to do 1 per episode, just because you were so annoyed at yourself for doing it.
And we've done it every day, every time.
Every day I wake up and I go, Mamma mia, it's a new bowl of spaghetti. That's how I start the day.
I love committing to a bit. I love seeing other people commit to a bit. So
yeah.
And it's the most fun is when we have guests on and they're just like, what on earth is going on right now?
Last one,
is that the energy I gave?
Well, I think it's energy everybody gives.
Yeah.
Because it never flows well. It like never naturally comes up.
And you know what?
Even like when we talk
That
about
works.
the Mario movie, we still find a way to really shoehorn it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say commit to it and commit to the fact that it doesn't flow.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the magic.
And the last one, I'm not going to tell you because you'll figure it out.
Yeah. The thing we now, like in the past, Harlan and I have had people like tag us in TikToks of how to do accurate Italian accents and stuff like that. So people know, people understand.
And they know you need help with it.
I just think we're really bad at it. I'm doing better than Jared Leto. That's all I'll say.
That's true. That's easy though. You just have to do it once, and then it's better than his.
Well, anyway, I think that is all our time for today. So thanks for coming on, Joey. If people want to check out your YouTube or TikTok or whatever, it will be linked down below. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, and
Adios.
Next week's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
That's
what we're doing next week. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.